In the build toward NXT In Your House 2022, WWE's NXT 2.0 needed to first settle some long-standing disputes during its show last night. Tony D'Angelo would finally meet Santos Escobar one-on-one in the ring to settle their power dispute. The Creed brothers were set to face the Viking Raiders in a rematch after their tainted win 2 weeks back. Cameron Grimes and Solo Sikoa needed to work together in a tag team match against Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. The NXT Women's Breakout Tournament would continue, with matches including Roxanne Perez and Lash Legend. Braun Breaker was expected to respond to Joe Gacy, while Toxic Attraction still awaited new challengers for their NXT Women's Championships. This show had potential to use the strongest foundations of the roster to put on a great show. Hello, friends, and welcome to this special edition of Wednesday Night Madness here on YouTube and Streaming.com. And no need to adjust your audio. I am Anthony Florio, of course, sitting in for good old MF Michael Fletcher. Work commitments beyond his control, as you all know. I'm joined, as always, by the Phenom Michael Bullock. And how we're going to do it tonight, we do it as we always do it on Wednesday Night Madness, with a little TXN Sports World in between. We're going to review NXT 2.0, then AEW Dynamite, and then we'll have the belated Celtics chat from last night, and then the Rangers roundup. And don't like the way that one ended, but, you know, it is what it is. So we'll get into all that. But for right now, let's start it off with NXT 2.0, as always, from the Capital Wrestling Center, Orlando, Florida, on the USA Network. And we started it off with that tag team matchup, as it was the North American champion, Cameron Grimes and Solo Sikoa, teaming up against Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. Winners of the match, 9 minutes and 57 seconds. Solo Sikoa and Cameron Grimes. One of the fights of the night for sure. I mean, this was a fantastic jump off to start this. This was easily 3 to 3.25 stars. You can make an argument maybe even for 3.5. It was a fine opener with a lot of talent involved. The pacing was flat, ending right as the contest picked up. However, Grimes and Sikoa both have enough chemistry to make this work. It was odd to book Melo in a loss just weeks before he challenges Grimes for the North American Championship at In Your House. NXT seems to be less concerned about protecting since he lost the title, and while it means more for Sikoa to pin the A champion, it did not feel necessary in the end. So that's really all there is to say on that. So I'm going to give it about 3. I'll give it 3.25, maybe 3.5 at the absolute best for this. But it was a very good way to start off NXT 2.0 last night. So not much more to say. Phenom Michael Bullock, come on in. Great way to jump it off with the North American champion, Cameron Grimes, and Solo Sikoa picking up the win over Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams.
Yeah, like you said, this is definitely a good way to start off NXT 2.0 with this. I'll give it about 3.25, 3.5. I mean, yeah, with all the participants in the ring, they have the opportunity to make it a good match, and that's what it was here. I mean, and people were wondering how Sikoa and Grimes were going to get along, especially with their upcoming North American title match at NXT In Your House. So, yeah, but they obviously worked well, but they may be partners last night, but at In Your House, they'll be opponents as they battle for that North American Championship. So 3.25, 3.5. So let's move on, Florio.
And next up, we have the next match in the Women's Breakout Tournament, as it was Lash Legend going one-on-one with Tatum Paxley. Lash Legend wins the match, 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Bullock, I know it wasn't really much of a match or anything, but it is the women's tournament. But Lash Legend getting the Duke here.
Yeah, I mean, it was no surprise that she was going to go for in this tournament. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Florio, I know you may rate this, but I'm sorry, this is too short. This is a dud for me. So, Florio, it's yours.
Yeah, it was a match that never really got going because Legend did not sell well for her opponent. It was inevitable that Legend would win here. However, she is going to need to step up in a major way against an opponent at the level of her next opponent, and she did not look like she could even keep up with Paxley, though. I 100% agree. This was definitely a dud, no doubt about it. So with that being said, let's continue on. And let's see. Oh yeah, then it was the segment with the NXT champion Braun Breaker, and interrupted by Joe Gacy. And Gacy goaded Breaker into yet another NXT championship match. This one will be on NXT in your house. And if Braun Breaker gets disqualified, he will lose the NXT championship. Oh, all right. So, NXT has not done anything right in selling this story. All of this makes it difficult to get excited about this rematch. Last Man Standing or Falls Count Anywhere match would have made more sense. But like I said, they're not doing anything right in selling this story. The talent are trying their best. Breaker is cutting angry promos like a true Steiner, and Gacy is constantly creepy. They can massively improve upon their first match with more time, even with lackluster story. So, we're not going to go too much more further into that. So with that being said, let's continue on. Return match from 2 weeks ago on as part of that spring break-in show. Creed brothers going up against the Viking Raiders. Viking Raiders get the win back, 9.5 minutes. And yeah, I'll give this about 3 stars here. I mean, I think this was actually better than their first match. Sequences were more fluid, cleaning up the miscommunications to create a higher energy clash. The finish also made sense, not taking away from the mystique of the main roster tag team. The Creeds are the definitive Diamond Mine members, and it would be a shame to take them away from that brand. It would be better to have them take that stable away from Roderick Strong in the eventual breakup. So, give us about 3, maybe another 3.25 or so for this. So, not much more to say. Michael Bullock, Viking Raiders get the win back. I'm thinking maybe a rubber match down the line.
Yeah, I could definitely see a rubber match somewhere down the line. So I'll give this about 3.25 when it comes to this. I mean, and I agree with you. I think this was actually better than the match they had at Spring Break-In. So yeah, and I'm also with you on this one. I think it would be best if they take the Diamond Mine group away from Roderick Strong, courtesy of the Creed brothers, rather than vice versa, because it would make no sense. Because it seems like Roderick Strong, Florida, seems like he's real disappointed with them. But I don't know what Roderick Strong is seeing, but the Creed brothers can get it done. And I'm telling you this right now, somewhere down the line, they will be NXT Tag Team Champions. It's only a matter of time.
Well, they are going to be challenging Pretty Deadly for those titles at In Your House, I heard.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, Florio, about that match. I smell a screwy finish here.
Smell a rat?
Yeah, I smell a rat. I think because of how Roderick Strong's been feeling on it, I think he's going to be the one that cost them the match.
Very possible.
I don't know. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but I just got this funny feeling about it. So we'll wait and see what happens. So there's really nothing more to say. So let's move on.
All right, and we're gonna move on. Yeah. Here's another cutout here. Andre Chase versus Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller wins the match, 4 minutes 12 seconds. All right, this was not as entertaining as last week's mixed tag that had Saray with Andre Chase and Tiffany Stratton with Grayson Waller. It just felt too formulaic. Chase has struggled repeatedly to build himself as relevant, yet he keeps losing the same way to every opponent. Waller should not have needed a distraction to beat Chase. He was a title contender not that long ago, and this needs to be about giving him wins until he is ready to go after gold again. So, I could easily call this a dud as well. So with that, let's get into the next match, and we will address this as it was the final match of the first round of the women's breakout tournament. Roxanne Perez, aka Roxy, squaring off against Kiana James, and Roxanne Perez wins the match, 5 minutes and 15 seconds. And Michael Bullock, I got to be honest with you, for my money, I think this was the best match of the first round. But no big surprise when you have someone as talented as Roxy in there.
Yeah, I mean, I know this was short on time, but I think because of what they brought in the amount of time, I'll give it 2 stars. I mean, could it have been better? Absolutely, it could have. But I think in the amount of time it did get, I enjoyed it. So nothing more to say. Florio, it is yours.
Slight disagreement on the rating. I'm gonna be a little more generous. I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. Like I said, this was easily the best match of the first round. While that was not a high bar, Kiana James looked good against Roxanne Perez. It was a very strong sell by the winner that made her opponent look dangerous. The right woman obviously won. Every single contest has gone exactly as expected to date. However, the semifinals should be much more unpredictable with more established women involved. And on one side of the bracket, it will be Nikita Lyons squaring off against Fallon Henley. And on the other side, it'll be Roxanne Perez against Lash Legend. So those will be the semifinal matches in this women's breakout tournament. So I'm going to be a little more generous on this. I'm going to give it 2.5 stars for that effort. Then we had Wes Lee going up against Nathan Frazier. Nathan Frazier wins the match via disqualification, 4 minutes and 21 seconds, due to outside interference from Von Wagner. And, well, of course, when we have a finish like this, it only goes one way, and that is the way of NA. Even though this was easily the smoothest action of the night before the unnecessary non-finish, Wagner could have easily let them finish before inserting himself in the action. Before that, Lee and Frazier were putting on a show with a wild cruiserweight clash where neither would let up. Wagner is involved in too many stories at the moment. He is not a big enough act to sustain rivalries with Ike Manjiro, Brooks Jensen, Josh Briggs, Wes Lee, and Nathan Frazier. But it seems NXT is entirely focused on him destroying everyone. So this is obviously going to be an NA. I know Bullock will concur with that. So, all right. Now we go to the main event of the evening, which was Santos Escobar squaring off against Tony D'Angelo. Winner of the match in 12 minutes and 49 seconds, Santos Escobar. And I'll say it like this. This was the fight of the night. No question about it. While this single match felt a bit rushed, it was certainly worthy of the main event spot, selling the magnitude of the story built. Escobar has proved consistently that he does not need gold to be successful, feeling like a star here. In fact, both men worked as like a top heavyweight clash. It was less about the action as much as the story. The two certainly have better in them, but the first match kept this story going. The right man won as Escobar picked up some needed momentum in cheap fashion. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars, and I'm going to call it the fight of the night for me. So, not much more to say. Michael Bullock, your thoughts on the main event?
Yeah, I thought this was a good and 3.5 is my rate. I mean, we got two good. I mean, yeah, Santos Escobar. I mean, he proved he doesn't need a title to prove why he is the best out there. So yeah, I'm with you on this one. 3.5 stars is my rating. And as far as the overall rating on this show, um, I'm gonna give this about maybe 6 out of 10. I mean, I mean, you had some good matches, but you also had some uh, some matches that were not so good. So yeah, I'll give it about 6 out of 10. Florio, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This was about a 6 out of 10 as well. Like Bullock said, it was a mixed bag. I mean, as always, it's the usual formula. First match, great. Main event, great. Everything in between. There were a few good things here and there, but there were also some meh in there as well. So I agree with it's a 6 out of 10 for me. So with that, let's move on now to another exciting edition of AEW Dynamite live from the Fertitta Center on the campus of the University of Houston in Houston, Texas, which is where the basketball team plays. I know that for a fact. So, and we are going to get into some exciting stuff when it comes to AEW Dynamite tonight as we inch closer to the Double or Nothing pay-per-view at the end of this month on Memorial Day weekend. And we started it off. What a way to start it off with the next match in the Owen Hart Foundation Memorial Tournament. It was on the men's side of things, and it was the Ring of Honor television champion, the Samoan submission machine, Samoa Joe, squaring off against the Joker. Now, when there's Jokers, that usually 9 times out of 10 means a surprise. Oh, we got a surprise, all right. But before I get into that, let me set the table here. Wild Card Wednesday brought with it a level of uncertainty and the unpredictability this week on AEW Dynamite, with 2 mystery jokers slated for the quarterfinals of the Owen Hart Foundation men's and women's tournaments. Speculation ran rampant ahead of the show as fans tried to guess who would battle Samoa Joe and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, respectively, and potentially earn their way into the semifinals of the prestigious tournament. Elsewhere on the card, AEW World Heavyweight Champion Hangman Adam Page sought to send a message loudly and clearly to CM Punk ahead of their title bout at Double or Nothing, while Chris Jericho and William Regal came face to face after the latter laid the Demo God out a week ago. What else went down on the jam-packed episode, and how did it affect the road to Double or Nothing on May 29th? Find out now with this recap of AEW Dynamite. Like I said, live from the Fertitta Center, Houston, Texas, University of Houston. And we started it off, Samoa Joe, the Ring of Honor television champion. And who was the Joker? Johnny Elite. John Morrison from WWE. Johnny Mundo from Lucha Underground. Johnny Impact from Impact Wrestling. Yes, that Johnny Elite. He's in AEW. What a steal. Winner of the match in an even 11 minutes. Samoa Joe with the Muscle Buster. Wow. Crowd was red hot for this one. The match may not have been the show stealer. It may have been had the Joker been like Johnny Gargano or Cesaro, but the fans were still hugely into Johnny Elite and the match as a whole. A post-match attack by Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh continued the feud with Joe, while the best friends arrived to fend them off. seemingly setting up a tag match of some sort down the line. The crowd's pop for the artist formerly known as Morrison was enormous, but I think it was clear the fans were expecting Johnny Gargano. And Elite came up just short on a 450 splash, but still managed to make it look good through his own raw athleticism. This was a fantastic opener. I'm going to give this about 3.25 to 3.5 stars. Great way to jump off this wild card Wednesday edition of AEW Dynamite. So not much really more to say here. Michael Bullock, business has picked up in AEW. They got John Morrison, now known as Johnny Elite. What a steal for AEW.
Yeah, you could definitely say this was a huge steal for AEW with Johnny Elite. So yeah, I'll give this about 3.25 to 3.5. I mean, I know the fans were open for a bigger surprise, maybe like you said, Johnny Gargano or perhaps Cesaro, but hey, I mean, Johnny Elite or John Morrison, he's no slouch either. I mean, and yeah, he definitely gave Joe a run for his money, but in the end, I think you knew Samoa Joe was going to win this one. So yeah, so there's really nothing more for me to add to this. So let's move on, Florio.
Yep, and I got to remember who. Oh yeah, I believe Joe meets the winner of the other of the final first round match, which we'll get into in a bit. So with that being said, let's continue on, and Bullock will start off this next match. The AEW World Heavyweight Champion Hangman Adam Page defending against Konosuke Takeshita from DDT Wrestling. Winner of the match in roughly an even 12 minutes. Hangman Adam Page. CM Punk sat in on commentary. Michael Bullock, I mean, Hangman, I mean, he was in for a fight. And I know you and I don't know, not even MF knew about Konosuke Takeshita. I apologize if I pronounced the name wrong. But Takeshita, give it up for him, man. He hung with the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, and he beat him. And let's just say he gave him one hell of a try and then some.
He did, and Florio, I think Derek Ferrero will probably know more about him than even the three of us, because we all don't know him that much. But boy, howdy, he really did give Hangman Adam Page a run for his money. I mean, this was definitely no cakewalk for Adam Hangman Page. So I'll give this about 3.5, maybe 3.75 for this match. I mean, yeah, I mean, give props to this guy for hanging with the AEW World Champion, but in the end, it was obviously you had to give the win to the Hangman because you want to give him some momentum going into his AEW World Title match with CM Punk at Double or Nothing, and I don't know. I mean, I think CM Punk is in Hangman's head, so and of course we're all in agreement here. I mean, I think this is where Hangman's run is going to end, and CM Punk is going to become the new AEW World Champion. But I would not be surprised if Hangman does hang on to the title. But I think we're all in agreement. CM Punk's walking away with that belt at Double or Nothing. But anywho, 3.5 to 3.75 for this. I mean, what a match this was. Florio, it is yours.
100% agree with the rating. 3.5 to 3.75 of a star. This was a hellishly competitive bout that saw Hangman go over, but not before Takeshita looked like an absolute badass in the process. It looked for a moment like the latter suffered a stinger off the tombstone, but he powered through and delivered a star-making performance that had some of the audience rooting for him to defeat the World Heavyweight Champion. CM Punk was great on commentary, putting over the psychological edge he has over his rival and building anticipation for their world title bout on May 29th. And you noticed Punk attributed Takeshita's Blue Thunder Bomb to El Generico, the indie alter ego of WWE Sami Zayn. Page answered to Takeshida's Haluva kick with one of his own in a nice spot. Hangman caught his opponent trying a diving lariat and rocked him with a discus forearm. Punk said on commentary, "I've got him right where I want him." Punch, and then Page delivered his own move, the buckshot lariat, and then stole CM Punk's finishing move, the GTS, a reaction to Punk using the buckshot lariat last week. And then the tense stare down between champion and challenger ended the segment. Next week on the Go Home show, they're going to have a face-off. They're going to have a face-to-face segment next week. So with that, 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. So let's move on here. It's not often we say this, but we had a cutout. Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland squaring off against the Workhorsemen, JD Drake and Anthony Henry. Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland win the match 2 minutes and 10 seconds. But then a more entertaining post-match segment than match, as Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks interfered, or interrupted rather. Keith Lee was cutting a promo after the match, and then he and Swerve traded insults with Hobbs and Starks, and then they were all interrupted by Christian Cage and the World Tag Team Champions Jurassic Express. And Christian Cage challenged both teams, Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee, and Hobbs and Starks, to face Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus in a triple threat match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships at Double or Nothing. And then next week's Dynamite, Christian Cage also called for Jungle Boy versus Swerve Strickland versus Ricky Starks in a triple threat match. Wow. Definitely a lot to dissect there. Solid showcase for Strickland and Lee, followed by a noteworthy post-match interaction between three of the top teams currently in AEW. It is mightily convenient that Starks and Hobbs and Strickland and Lee are now top 5 tandems, sliding into a tag title match despite FTR being right there. Convenience notwithstanding, it is a fresh match that should be damn good given the talent involved. Of note in the match was just how over Lee and Strickland were. After a spotty first couple of months in AEW, it is nice to see them gathering momentum, entering one of the biggest pay-per-view events of AEW's calendar year. And then we had the segment with Wardlow taking 10 lashes from MJF, and Sean Spears got involved as well, and they basically beat the hell out of Wardlow. And then next week, and as you all know, next week, MJF versus Sean Spears inside a steel cage. MJF will be the guest referee.
I mean Wardlow versus Sean Spears.
Yeah, Wardlow versus Sean Spears, yes. Wardlow versus Sean Spears, as well with MJF as the referee. And if Wardlow wins, then Wardlow gets the match with MJF at Double or Nothing. So this was a great angle. Wardlow, no-selling lashes, bruised MJF's ego to the point that he had to resort to a cheap low blow to even affect his former employee. The heels built heat with their beatdown and set the stage for Wardlow to unleash hell on Sean Spears inside the steel cage next week. And this has been the best storyline in AEW since Revolution, and this only added to it. Wardlow is about to be a massive breakout star for the company, and whooping MJF's ass will ensure it. And you saw, and that's really all there is to say there. So Bullock,
and I'm gonna enjoy seeing Wardlow beating the hell out of that little douchebag MJF,
especially after what happened tonight.
Yeah. You talk about a man stooping to a new level. I mean, the 10 lashes and then pulling this and having Sean Spears finish him off. Yeah, what a cheap SOB this guy is. I mean, he's willing to do whatever the hell it takes to make sure this match does not happen.
Yep. So that's really all
Word
there is.
to, word to you, MJF. Don't start something you can't finish because Wardlow's gonna have his he's gonna have his way with you, and everybody around here is gonna enjoy watching you get your bleeping ass kicked.
Alrighty. So with that said, we move on to the next match, the final first round match in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Kyle O'Reilly, 1-on-1 with I can't quite do it with Justin Roberts, but you know who I'm talking about, Ray Phoenix, and I wanted to do it the Justin Roberts way because you know how much I love it. Ray Phoenix, and winner of the match in an even 12 minutes, it was Kyle O'Reilly with a clean win. Michael Bullock, what a match. I think this may have been the best first round tournament match with Kyle O'Reilly knocking off Ray Phoenix.
Yeah, this was definitely what a match this was between these two. I mean, again, I'll probably give it about maybe another 3.5, 3 3/4. I mean, with Ray Phoenix, I mean, you never get a match that's disappointing. And again, same can be said with Kyle O'Reilly. And you put these two in a ring like this, in a match like this, you expect something real good, and that's what you get. I mean, yeah, Kyle O'Reilly winning clean was a little bit of a surprise because I was expecting at some point that Bobby Fish was going to come out and assist, but no, that never happened. So yeah, Kyle O'Reilly moves on. So there's nothing more to say. Florio, it's another 3.5 to 3 3/4 for me. What says you?
We agree again, and next week Kyle O'Reilly will go up against Samoa Joe. Ooh, what a matchup that's going to be. So, but then again, even if Ray Phoenix had won, it still would have been a great match either way. But like I said, I think this was the best match of the tournament to date. The counters, reversals, and high spots ran wild while the match still managed to remain grounded in the simplicity of O'Reilly focusing on the previously injured left arm of his opponent. In the end, it was that obsessive focus on the limb that earned him the win and cashed his ticket to the semifinals. A great match that highlighted both men and earned O'Reilly a signature AEW win. This set the bar high for the remainder of the broadcast and every tournament match to come. Phoenix took to the air, but O'Reilly caught him and delivered 2 consecutive butterfly suplexes in a nice spot. Phoenix and O'Reilly traded a rebound hook kick and clothesline respectively as counters prevailed late. The finish was excellent and paid off everything that preceded it. Bullock hit it again, 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. Then we had the confrontation with Chris Jericho and William Regal. Chris Jericho, of course, guided by the Jericho Appreciation Society, whereas William Regal had his Blackpool Combat Club minus Wheeler Yuta. And you had Danielson, you had Moxley, you also had Eddie Kingston, you had Santana and Ortiz. And they exchanged so they basically, had some fun callbacks to their old days and everything else. But Jericho attempted to challenge the babyfaces to a Stadium Stampede match, only for Jon Moxley to refuse and issue the challenge for an Anything Goes match between Jericho Appreciation Society and the team of Blackpool Combat Club, Santana, Ortiz, and Kingston. The segment was longer than it needed to be, but it did do one thing: plant the seeds of dissension within the babyface team. Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston have established beef with each other, and the leader of the Jericho Appreciation Society exploited it to his advantage. And it was a smart development and one that will add an air of intrigue that has not been there throughout the up and down feud to this point. Moxley said, nah, I ain't doing that bleep, denouncing the idea of a third Stadium Stampede bout. Jericho said he was surprised to see Regal here because he thought he would be dead. And Kingston and Danielson got into a shoving match. But there were some great callbacks here. I mean, you remember their days in the WWF, in the Attitude Era, especially 2001 when they feuded over the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship.
And especially with what Chris Jericho did to William Regal's T.
Yeah. We all know what he did on that. You can relive that on Peacock with all those Monday Night Raws from yesteryear. And and then from there, he did mention that. But 2001, those two, I mean, they feuded over the Intercontinental belt, and the only difference was the roles were reversed. At that time, Chris Jericho was the babyface, William Regal was the heel. And now this time around, you got William Regal as the babyface and Chris Jericho as the heel. So very interesting dynamic there. But I thought this was a very, even though it went long, I got to say I still think the segment was really good. And I love seeing Jericho and Regal together. And Bullock, just like for me, I'm sure, same thing for you. I'm sure it definitely conjured up some memories of that great 2001 feud those two had over the IC title at WrestleMania 17. And, of course, that infamous Duchess of Queensberry rules match at Backlash.
Yeah, it certainly brought up a lot of memories. And yeah, there were certain times, Florio, that Chris Jericho went there with some of the things that he had been fired from other wrestling companies. Well, with WWE or NXT, he wasn't fired; he was let go. So,
right,
you need to get your facts straight, Jericho, on that one. But
yeah, get some facts and come back and see us, big boy.
Yeah, and then trying to stir the pot, and especially with those bimbos over in the Jericho Appreciation Society, especially Daniel Garcia and two of your favorite guys that are part of that team, Florio. Yeah, right.
Yeah, the former
2.0. Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, 2.0. You are so annoying. Anthony Florio could on the day when you die, he could come over and piss on your damn grave. Because that's how annoying you two sons of bitches are.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but
well,
yeah.
I would. Well, I would.
You probably would, but not me.
Because I can't stand those two douchebags.
Ham and egg or jabronis, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and they're still ham and egg or jabronis to this day.
And I think they've been even more annoying and obnoxious here in AEW than they were ever in WWE, especially I don't know which one it is, but the one who just keeps screaming and screaming. Who are you, Neville? From his King of the Cruiserweights era? Please. Yeah,
and to Daniel Garcia, I mean, gosh, those straps on you look so freaking horrible. I mean, Drew Carey from Whose Line Is It Anyway makes those straps look more better than you do wearing them. So get the you-know-what out with that nonsense, you pretty boy hair gel wearing douchebag. I mean, but then again, everybody from the Jericho Appreciation Society is a bunch of pretty boy hair gel wearing douchebags. And, I mean, especially Jake Hager, who claims to be an MMA star. I mean, let me tell you something, Jake Hager. If you're an MMA star, why stick around to face Lesnar? Then we would have seen how tough you really are. So, but you probably got out of there when he was part of MMA. So that proves to me what a coward you are. And Jericho, you say you care about entertainment? Not to me and Florio, because we care about one thing.
Professional wrestling, not sports entertainment. We care about professional wrestling. And the two men that helped us develop our love of professional wrestling, the Nature Boy Ric Flair and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Yeah, and those five guys that were in the ring, Santana, Ortiz, Kingston, and especially the Blackpool Club, what do they care about? One thing, and that's fighting.
And professional
And
wrestling.
Yeah, and I like to see you, Jericho, in a match against in the ring against Mr. Bryan Danielson, because
We've
this
seen
man
that
can
match
out
once.
wrestle.
We actually did see that match when WWE first started NXT in 2010. Brian, I think that was one of the first matches of that show. Bryan Danielson, then Daniel Bryan against Chris Jericho, and it was a hell of a match.
Yeah, but here's another to you, Jericho. Bryan Danielson did something that you never did during your time in WWE. He won 2 matches in one night. He beat the Game Triple H and Batista and Randy Orton.
And walked out WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
That to me is more impressive than the night you beat Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed.
So to say that you're better than Bryan Danielson, get the you know what out with that nonsense. And all I can say is, come Double or Nothing, let's just say I'm betting there's going to be a lot of blood in this one, especially when you got the Mr. John Moxley out there. Woo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so great segment, great back and forth here, and yeah, so there's really nothing more to say except let's move on.
Yeah. We move on to the final first round match in the women's tournament. Excuse me. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. And we were wondering who would be the Joker. I mean, we were so excited. We were thinking, oh, this is going to be, I mean, if they brought back John Morrison, who's it going to be in the women's side? I had heard rumors that it possibly could have been Candice LeRae. But sadly, it was not Candice LeRae. It was the singing idol, Maki Ito. Really? Okay. But Dr. Britt Baker won the match 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Dr. Britt Baker will now advance to meet Toni Storm in the semifinals of the women's tournament. And then on the other side, you got Ruby Soho, and she'll await either Chris Statlander or Red Velvet in the other semifinals. So Michael Bullock, Dr. Britt Baker gets the win here. But Maki Ito ended up being the Joker. And I was kind of let down because I was honestly fully expecting Candice LeRae. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I was a little let down with this. I mean, I was expecting Candice LeRae or even someone bigger than that. But Maki Ito, no, it doesn't sit well with me at all. But at least the right person won here, and Dr. Britt Baker. I'll give this about maybe 2 stars at best. I mean, I just think, I mean, it could have been higher, but I just think the crowd was. I think it was a little let down because I think they were expecting like you and me, Florio, expecting a bigger name, but what we get. But next week, Dr. Britt Baker ain't gonna get anything easy because Toni Storm ain't that, and let's just say these two definitely have unfinished business. Some more to say. 2 stars is my rating. Florio, it is yours.
I'll give it 2.5. I mean, the match was fine for what it was, but somewhat disappointing given the talent involved. That there was no real conflict between the competitors hurt, but Ito's fiery comeback popped the crowd. Ito is popular among diehard fans, but the casual fans, like Bullock and I, her appearance was somewhat lackluster given the excitement that goes into the mystery Joker competitors. Dr. Britt Baker versus Toni Storm should be a strong match. And the fact that there is tension between them after weeks of the Good Doctor insulting and ducking the Aussie should lead to an electric atmosphere in Vegas next week. So not much more to say there. 2.5 for me. And then Tony Schiavone was in the ring, saying some words, and then interrupted by Serena Deeb. And Serena Deeb went after Tony Schiavone, and then went after Dustin Rhodes, and that brought out the AEW Women's World Champion Thunder Rosa. Scathing promo gave way to Rosa hitting the ring, only to be knocked out with the women's title, as Deeb earned a little momentum in a short, effective segment. So we're not going to really dive much into that. And then from there, the main event of the evening, it was the first semifinal match in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Adam Cole versus Jeff Hardy. Adam Cole wins the match in roughly an even 7 minutes. A good match that never had the time to be much more than that. It was preceded by a wild brawl that included Matt Hardy, the Young Bucks, Sting, Darby Allin, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly. The heels laid out the baby faces to close out the show. The brawl seemed to point to 2 different matches to be added to the Double or Nothing card. The Bucks versus the Hardys, and perhaps Red Dragon versus Allin and Sting. Of course, that suggests O'Reilly will lose to Samoa Joe in next week's semifinals, but I think that might be a given anyway. So, way too short for our liking, especially with the talent involved. I can only give this 2.5 to 2 3/4 of a star and call it the disappointing fight of the night. Because when you think of these two, you would think this could be a 3.5 to 4 star or so match easy, but they only gave them 7 minutes. You could have cut some time off of that Jericho and Regal segment, that women's segment. I'm sorry, no disrespect, but I think that was a trifle unnecessary. You could have cut that time off, and you could have given that, and you could have given this a good 10, 15 minutes or so, and it would have been a better match. But the right guy did win, though, and that's Adam Cole. And Adam Cole is now in the finals. So he will face either his undisputed elite brother, Kyle O'Reilly, wink, wink, Bullock. We know the wars those two had in NXT. Or we could see Adam Cole against Samoa Joe in what would be a good MF Michael Fletcher special. Because those two of the greatest Ring of Honor world champions of all time. So, but this was very disappointing. Way too short for our liking, especially the talent involved. 2.5, 2 3/4. So with that being said, Michael Bullock, right guy won, but you would think a match with Adam Cole and Jeff Hardy had potential to be a potential show stealer, but instead ended up being on the disappointing end. You want to talk about getting dicked for time. This got dicked for time and then some.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Florio, but I got to call out AEW on this one. I mean, you got 2 guys that are talented as this, and you only give them 7 minutes? No. That is beyond trifling unnecessary, beyond unacceptable, and these 2 deserve way more better than this. So, to all you AEW AEW lovers that want to call me out and say, "Oh, why are you ripping AEW for this?" Because, look, the talent that these 2 have, they deserve more time than this. Not 7 minutes. That's more for mid-card wrestlers. These 2 are not that. So I'm sorry, AEW, but you literally screwed the pooch on this one. That was for you, MF. I mean, that women's segment should not have happened. And yeah, I mean, if you eliminated some of those, I mean, that Jericho Appreciation Society and that back and forth, I mean, it was a good segment, but it should have been a little shorter. I mean, if you eliminated some of those things, then you could have given these guys the proper amount of time that they freaking deserve. So sorry, AEW, you screwed up on this one. 2.5 stars for me. So it's and yeah, it's yours.
Overall review and Bullock, all I could say definitely was better than NXT.
Oh, it was better than NXT, no doubt about it. I mean, I'll give this about maybe 7.5 to 7.5 to 8. I mean, I could have gone a little higher, but I just think the main event was just a little disappointing and took the rating down a little bit. But if you've given these guys more time, I could have given this 8.5. But because of that, I can only give this 7.5 to 8. So that's all I can say. Florio, it's yours.
Yep. And we're moments away from the TXN Sports World portion of the show. So, yep, I'm right there with you, Bullock. 7.5 to 8. I mean, yeah, the show fell apart during the second hour, and AEW once again tried to cram too many things into one show. The pay-per-view build is really good in some cases and a hot mess in others. And it's very strange that they have not even announced the full card yet. But that's coming soon enough. So, but it was still a very good show. I mean, Fight of the Night for me, believe it or not, actually, no. By a smidge, I got to give it to the Rey Fenix and Kyle O'Reilly match. Hangman against Takeshita was very good. You also had a solid match with Samoa Joe and Johnny Elite. But you had a couple of bad matches at the end there and a very disappointing main event, especially with the talent involved. I mean, those two, if given the proper time, could easily give us a Fight of the Night worthy match. But, it is what it is. So 7.5 to 8 out of 10 for this. I 100% agree with Bullock's rating. Excuse me. So with that, we're going to get into the TXN Sports World portion of this show, which is the we're going to get to the I'm going to start it off with the Celtics chat. And as it was game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final Series between Michael Bullock's number 2 seed, Boston Celtics, and the number 1 seed, the Miami Heat. It started out very good early for the Celtics. They even had an 8-point lead at the half. But the third quarter, the killer, and it ended up being the Miami Heat defeating the Boston Celtics by a final score of 118 to 107. If you notice the quarter by quarter breakdown, the big difference, third quarter, 39-14 in favor of the Miami Heat. And that's why they won this game last night. His team was down by 8 at halftime, and Miami coach Eric Spoelstra went into the locker room ready to deliver a big speech. But it turns out one was not needed. Jimmy Butler decided to let his play do the talking. Jimmy Butler scored 27 of his 41 points in the second half in a huge third quarter by the Heat, carried them to a 118-107 win over the shorthanded Boston Celtics, 118-107 in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals last night. Like I said, in that third quarter, Tyler Hero scored 18 and Gabe Vincent added 17 for the Heat, who outscored Boston 39-14 in the third quarter. Butler had 17 alone in the third, outscoring the Celtics by himself over those 12 minutes. Boston shot 2 for 15 in that third quarter. We go to the box score. For the victorious Miami Heat, of course, like I said, Jimmy Butler was the star, 41 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, and 3 blocks. That's a hell of a stat line. Vincent, 17 points, 3 assists, and 2 rebounds. Strus had 11 points, 4 rebounds. Adebayo at 10 points, 4 blocks. Tyler Hero off the bench, 18 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Those the notable performances of the Miami Heat. For the Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum led the way, 29 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals. Jaylen Brown, double-double, 24 points, 10 rebounds. Robert Williams III almost had a double-double. He had 18 points and 9 rebounds. Also had a couple of blocks. Peyton Pritchard, great game off the bench, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Thies had 8 points and 4 rebounds. Nesmith off the bench. He didn't score any points, but he had 3 blocks. Of course, they were without 2 of their big stars, Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart, and Al Horford. That was definitely a difference maker in that one. And then to the team numbers. Field goal shooting was in favor of Miami, 48.8% for Miami, 45.6% for Boston. 3-point shooting, slightly in favor of Miami. They went 10 of 30 from 3 for 33.3%. Boston, 11 of 34, 32.4%. Free throw shooting was in favor of Miami, 30 of 34, 88.2% from the free throw line. Boston, 24 of 32 from the line, 75%. The rebounding edge, offensive rebounds, 9-8 in favor of Miami. Both teams each had 30 defensive rebounds. So that gave Miami the slight edge, 39-38 in rebounding. Assists in favor of Boston, 22-18. Steals went to Miami, 10-8. Miami also won the blocks battle. They had 12 blocks in the game. Boston only had 8. Heat committed only 13 turnovers. Celtics committed 16 turnovers. But Boston outscored Miami in points off turnovers 19-17. And then fast break points, 19-13 in favor of the Boston Celtics. Points in the paint in favor of the Boston Celtics, 48-40. Fouls. Boston committed 23 fouls. Miami committed 24 fouls. Each team committed 1 technical foul. And Miami committed, and Miami actually committed a flagrant foul. Boston's largest lead was 13. Miami's largest lead was 20. And Miami wins by 11, 118-107. Game 2 tomorrow night. Yep, it's tomorrow night at the... Oh, excuse me. Yep, and game 2 will be, of course, tomorrow night from Miami, of course, tomorrow night, every other night. That's how they're doing it. So that's really all there is to say on that. So with that, Michael Bullock, man, it started so promising for the Celtics. Even without Marcus Smart, even without Al Horford, Boston jumped out to a quick 7-0 lead early. They had a 62-54 lead at the half. You're like, we might actually have a puncher's chance in this one. But then the third quarter happened and it all fell apart. 39-14 Miami, and that was the difference, unfortunately.
Yeah, and like you said, Florio, that to me was what decided the game here in the third quarter. I mean, like you said, the first half, no Marcus Smart, no Al Horford. You had an 8-point lead, and you're thinking they have a chance to steal game 1. And yeah, the third quarter, that's when the Heat were like, okay, we're done with this. We're gonna take it up another level. And the thing is, also, Florio, just too many turnovers for Jason Tatum. I mean, 6 of his 8 turnovers came in that second half, and yeah, he needs to clean that up if they have a puncher's chance to try to even up this series. And Jaylen Brown's got to play better. And yeah, and I did hear that as of today, it looks like Marcus Smart could return for tomorrow night's game 2. So that could be a huge lift, and maybe they put him on Jimmy Butler. So we'll see what happens there. But you got to give it up to Robert Williams because it was like hours before the tip off, we find out Al Horford is out because he was put in the NBA's health and safety protocols. And you're thinking, oh man, what the hell? But Robert Williams really stepped up and he had a fine game here. So it looks like he might be getting the start again because it looks like Al Horford, unless he comes back with a bunch of negative tests, it looks like he's going to miss game 2. And as far as for game 3, I mean, could we see him then? We'll find out. But yeah, the first half looked promising, but the second half, especially in that third quarter, was pretty much what doomed the Boston Celtics here. So you got to get better performance from Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And I mean, Grant Williams, after he had the pretty much the game of his life in Game 7, he just didn't have that much of a performance in Game 1. So yeah, I'm sure Udoka is definitely going to finish addressing this and hopefully. But you know what? I'm not all that concerned because to me, Florio, the goal of this was at least get out of here with a split. So now they got a chance to do it tomorrow night. So we'll see what happens. Like you said, tip-off is at 8:30 on ESPN. And, of course, you got Mike Breen, Jeff Van Gundy, Mark Jackson, and Lisa Salters on the sideline. But of course, for all you Celtic fans, you can listen. You can also listen to it on 98.5 The Sports Hub with, of course, Sean Grandy. And, of course, one of my favorites, Florio, it's Cedric Cornbread Maxwell.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this guy is freaking hilarious on commentary on the radio, Cedric Maxwell. I mean, if you haven't listened to it, you got to check it out. But definitely catch the action tomorrow night as the Celtics try to even up the series at 2. So
at 1.
So yeah, so we'll see what happens. So that being said, Florio, let's get to your Ranger roundup. And if you thought it was bad for my team, gosh, I feel for your team too.
Oh, we had it, B. We had it. Oh, man. Yeah, spoiler alert. Rangers lose. Yep, tonight was game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinal series, or if you want to go old school, Metropolitan Division final between your New York Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes, the PNC Arena in Raleigh on ESPN with Sean McDonough and crew. And it looked so good for so long. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, the Carolina Hurricanes defeat the New York Rangers 2-1 in overtime. But here's how it happened. 7:07 of the first period, Philip Sheetal, his second of the playoffs, assisted by Alexis Lafreniere, 1-0 New York. And then at 17:37 of the third period, with 2:23 away, Rangers were 2:23 away from stealing this one. Sebastian Aho, with his third goal of the playoffs, assisted by Seth Jarvis and Teuvo Teravainen. And then 3 minutes and 12 seconds into overtime, Ian Cole with his first of the playoffs from Brendan Smith and Jesperi Kotkaniemi. And that's it. The Carolina Hurricanes defeat the New York Rangers 2-1 in overtime. Carolina up 1-0. Game 2, of course, will be on Friday night in Carolina, and we'll have the next installment of the Ranger Roundup as part of a special edition of the Cerebral Smack Talks. So let's break it down here as I always do. For the I don't know who the 3 stars of the game were. I don't know where MF finds that information, but anyways, I'll give you my stars of the game like I always do. Antti Ranta for the Carolina Hurricanes, 27 saves on 28 shots. Sebastian Aho with the tying goal. He had 3 takeaways. He had a block and a hit. A lot of former New York Rangers on this team, and that definitely hurts. Especially Jesper Fast, who was a big part of that range of the Ranger teams of a few years ago. He had 8 hits in this game. Seth Jarvis had an assist. He had 7 hits in the game. Jordan Staal played very well tonight. He won 11 faceoffs, and he also had 6 hits in the game. Nino Niederreiter had 5 hits, and he had a block. And then Tony DeAngelo, not to be confused with NXT's Tony DeAngelo. He had a nice stat line, 3 blocks, 2 hits, 2 takeaways. Ian Cole, the game-winning goal and a block on his end. Brendan Smith, an assist with 2 hits. Another former Ranger, Brady Shea, 3 takeaways, 2 hits, and a block. And Slavin had 3 takeaways, 2 hits, and a block. And those are my stars for the Carolina Hurricanes. For the New York Rangers, of course, Igor Shesterkin, 24 saves, 26 shots. And for the New York Rangers, my star of the game was Jacob Trouba. He had 6 hits, 5 blocks, and 3 takeaways. Great stat line there. Keandre Miller had 3 takeaways and a hit. Ryan Lindgren, 3 blocks, a hit, and a takeaway. Braun had a couple of hits and a block. Schneider, 2 hits, a block, and a takeaway. Kevin Rooney had 5 hits and a block. Strome had 3 hits. Vetrano, 3 blocks. And Sheedle with the goal. Lafreniere with a goal. He had a hit and a takeaway on top of that. Kreider had a couple of hits and a couple of hits and a block. So, yeah, gut-wrenching. Excuse me. This is a very gut-wrenching loss for the New York Rangers. And, I mean, I honestly thought they had it. I really did. I mean, they were up 1-0 for so long. And then for it to fall apart like it did at the end. 2:23 away from stealing one. Sebastian Aho ties it, and then 3 minutes and 12 seconds into the overtime, Ian Cole wins it for Carolina. And just an example of the Carolina Hurricanes continuing their dominance against us. Hurricanes took 3 or 4 from the Rangers during the regular season, and I know if MF was here, he'd be as gutted as I am right now. I mean, classic case of so close yet so far away. But not to worry, this is only game 1. Game 2, of course, will be on Friday in back in Raleigh. So just like with Bullock and the Celtics, I'm hoping for a split. I mean, that's exactly what happened against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Rangers still went on to win that series, even falling behind 3-1 and coming back and winning it. So what they have to do here is they have to take they got to take the crowd out of it early. They did take the crowd out of it early when Sheedle scored that opening goal. I mean, but we need more from the kid line. We need more from our stars. And, we got to get more goal support for Shesterkin so he can stand on his head and do what he does. So it's a tough one, Ranger fans, but hopefully we'll bounce back on Friday. So, Michael Bullock, do you have a quick thought about this since MF's not here? I mean, man, let's talk about so close yet so far away for the New York Rangers. Man, they had it 2:23 away, and then it fell apart. Ugh.
Yeah, that's a tough one to swallow if you're a Ranger fan, like my good friend Anthony Florio is. I mean, you were playing so well, and then it pretty much fell apart. Just like like what happened in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals with the Celtics. And yeah, I mean, but like you said, I mean, hopefully, I mean, yeah, you got to strike early this time around, and like with the Celtics, what they need to do as well, they need to finish because that's what it's all about. It's finishing it this time around. So,
Exactly right.
I mean, it's only one game, but I think the Rangers can bounce back in Game 2 because they have to. Because you don't want to go back to the Garden down 2-0. So we'll find out Friday night. So that's pretty much all I can say. So Floria, let's put a bow on this.
All right, and that's exactly what we will do here and now. Hang tight, Bullet, because I'm going to set the future content so you know. Although you want to make sure the fans know as well. 10 p.m. tomorrow night, same time tomorrow, we'll be back with another edition of TXN Sports World as we will preview the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then we will also preview the NBA Conference Finals. We'll get into that. We'll do that, and then we'll also, time permitting, we will also have the Game 2 edition of the Celtics chat, and hopefully it'll be a good Celtics chat, and hopefully the Celtics will even it up with the Miami Heat, and we'll see what happens in Game 2 of that Eastern Conference Finals series. So that'll be tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, and then Friday night, same time, 10 p.m. Eastern, special edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, as I'll be hosting again for MF. We're going to get into AEW Rampage. We're going to get into Friday Night SmackDown. And then, of course, we will also have the Game 2 edition of the Rangers Roundup. And then we'll take our content from there. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for TXN Sports World, this is Anthony Florio here for the Phenom Michael Bullock. And in spirit, of course, go to MF Michael Fletcher and the First Lady Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Thursday. And until tomorrow night, for TXN Sports World, you've been watching the special edition of Wednesday Night Madness right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamHear.com. And remember, my friends, no matter what anyone tells you beyond anything else, wrestling is indeed actually real. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye.